Hello, and thank you for having me here today. Obviously, a shame we can't be together in the lovely environment in Norway, but I'm pleased to be able to have this opportunity to talk to you remotely about making open access book funding work fairly, and particularly charting the emergence of library membership funding models for OA monographs. By way of quick background, a quick recap on why OA monographs. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed really many of the fragilities in the humanities and social science infrastructure for the dissemination and consumption of research. For those of us who are clinically vulnerable, the ability to get to a library to consult open access monographs has been severely diminished during the pandemic times. We're also seeing from the publisher side that traditional sales of academic books have dropped, but we're still working the way we always have, as though those sales are going to continue at a flat line. Open access for books seems to offer us increased readership, usage and citation, and various funder mandates are coming into play that are insisting on OA for monographs. In other words, at this precise moment we've seen the starting pistol fired for a transition to an open access monograph ecology, but we haven't yet got there on the economic models that could fully support such transition. Over the past year, we've seen the emergence of different strata of membership models for open access monographs. And the reason for this is quite clear. Book processing charges do not scale well at all. So in the book processing charge world, you've got the equivalent of having 100 people in front of you in a room for a talk and saying to one person on the front row that they must pay $100 total, instead of saying to everybody in the room, you pay $1 each. This concentration of costs makes it very difficult for us to see how open access monographs will ever become a norm when a book processing charge can be up to, say, £11,000 or so in UK currency. To try to get around this problem, lots of presses are coming up with new membership type models in which many libraries subscribe in order to spread the cost between them. So for instance, MIT Press has its Direct to Open scheme, which has a subscription threshold before OA titles can be released. The idea being that if enough libraries sign up and they hit their threshold, the entire front list for that year will become openly accessible. There have also been a series of scholar-led born open access presses who have membership models. You could think of Open Book Publishers or Punctum Books, who both have membership schemes aimed at diversifying their revenue income and ensuring that book processing charges aren't asked of authors, because that's the other challenge, is that humanities authors are often not well funded enough to be able to front a book processing charge. And then there's the model called Opening the Future that we've developed here at the COPIM project in the UK, where we're looking at small to medium-sized academic presses, usually university presses, with substantial backlists, and trying to work out whether there's a way of leveraging those backlists in order to provide an open access front list, and it's that I'm going to talk a little bit more about for the rest of today. So Opening the Future is a model that attempts to use an open access backlist in order to fund a front list to become openly accessible. And the idea is that libraries subscribe to packages of books, so 50 books, say at the Central European University Press, in each package, and that is a subscription purely for the library's own collection. It's not open access. What we do with that subscription, though, is that we begin to unlock frontlist titles to become open access. So title by title, as the revenue becomes available, we make a title open access. And in this way, we don't have the all or nothing approach of some models. We can say simply, when we reach the threshold for the next book in terms of revenue, that will become open access. The benefits of these types of library models is that as more members join, the cost per library goes down. So, for instance, if we can reach 250 libraries, the cost per book per institution would be just $12, which is much cheaper than we see in many models of purchasing economy, where, for instance, academic books can cost $60 or more. The presses we're working with, Liverpool University Press and the Central European University Press, have pledged to donate any surplus back to infrastructural projects for open access monographs, or to publish more books openly. So there's really a community benefit in more libraries participating in these types of scheme. There are some misunderstandings about these types of model. One of the challenges is that funders and other people who are providing money for open access monographs often want to subdivide down their spend into a book processing charge and an individual unit cost. The idea being that then they can say, well, we funded our research to be open access, say if you're a research funder. The problem is that gets around what these models are trying to do. This isn't a read and publish deal where the idea is that your researchers are allowed to publish openly. This also isn't a backlist to OA model. We're not here aiming to liberate the backlist content. We're aiming to use that backlist content to sustain an open access front list. I should also say that the thing we're trying to avoid here are the book processing charges. So trying to get into this new model of thinking about models that are not read and publish deals and that are more about infrastructural thinking about presses being entirely open access is what we're trying to do. But this model is not for every single press everywhere. It's for those with a substantial backlist and a set of institutions who every year are buying all their books anyway, who are willing to subscribe in order to see the press become openly accessible instead. These types of models deliver extremely good value for money. The highest membership fee for 1 year's access 50 titles in our program is equal to half a single article processing charge at a journal. So the humanities are not very well funded, but even when you look at it in comparison to the natural sciences and the article processing charges being asked by journals there, we've actually come out with a figure that is substantially better than that, and that looks like it scales to the level of funding that's available in the humanities. So really we're trying to make this affordable for libraries and to work with them to come up with a program that works here. So we have a website, obviously, as you'd expect, at openingthefuture.net, and the two presses that are participating are the Central European University Press and Liverpool University Press, are pilots. You can obviously also email me at any point at martin.eve@bbk.ac.uk if you'd like to know more about what we're doing. I hope you'll join us. It seems to me that we're on the cusp of a set of exciting new experiments for open access monographs at this moment. If these pilots don't succeed, though, I sense that we're in trouble. If we're going to fall back just on book processing charges, we're going to see the majority of work in the humanities monograph publishing space remaining inaccessible, even while scientific research becomes more and more generally available. That's not a great world for humanities research. It's not a great world for education. So I hope that you'll join me in making this pilot succeed so that we can show what might be possible to build that better world. Thank you very much.